All right, let's get it started. What do you want to know? I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even know the guy.
Here's the intro.
This is Bathrobe Theater?
We are so fortunate here at What We Thought Would Happen to welcome a very good friend of mine, one of the funniest people I've ever met, and am lucky to know. He dropped out of high school to study Build-A-Graft with George Santos. Here he is, co-creator, writer of The Minor Accomplishment of Jackie Woodman, so many other things we can't even mention. Please welcome Dave Punch.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. All the way live. You're the second Bostoner we've had on here. And I'm not going to say Bostonian because that's too fancy for Boston.
And I'm not from Boston. I'm sorry. I'm as a New York transplant.
Yes.
Yes.
Dave.
But, wait, who was the first and preferred?
There can be only one Dave Punch. No, it was Ken Reed, and he wasn't. I have so few friends, we have to go out of town to get this done. But funny, and Garrett's only friend is me, which is really sad. So, Dave Punch, I've asked.
You two are my only friends, and I just you're on a TV right now. So it's like, you're kind of pretend.
I've been.
You might as well be Fred and Wilma Flintstone.
If they were drunk and couldn't get out of bed. Hey.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. What are we talking about
darling,
today?
I've asked all our guests about high school, what it was like for them. And also, I forgot what high school you went to.
It's a good question. I'm a product of public education.
Great.
So I know just enough to think that I know everything. But, yeah, it's funny. So we just had our 150th high school reunion, and so I heard from some people, and this one woman in particular who, how do I tell this story without A, being long and boring? There's no way. So buckle up.
Okay.
But no, we sort of got around to the fact that, like, you know, hey, like everyone who kind of looked good in high school, like kind of just sort of looks like garbage. Cause I think everyone was kind of like outdoorsy, and they went skiing out west a lot, like I didn't do, and they didn't wear their sunblock. And so they all kind of look weather beaten and terrible. And so this one gal, and she was talking, and we sort of got around to saying, like, you know, where are we now? She's homeless, and she's been driving around in a van with like 14 cats and some chickens. And I'm like, okay, I kind of thought I wasn't I was doing the least good out of the class, but now I feel a little bit better about things. And, but she was asking, you know, I was like, how's your relations? I'm like, oh, you know, wife and kid. And she's like, oh, so you're not a virgin anymore. And I was like, you know, like, well, like the class of 82, John Jay High School, the girls could have done something about that. But, you know, I'm laying that at your doorstep, not mine, in other words. And like, they would have all come down, like anyone would rate them as sleazy, but not sleazy enough, I guess, is my point.
But so we're talking about upstate New York.
Right. Like we were like 45 minutes outside of the city. So you can kind of say like, oh, I'm from New York because, you know, my bean sweater had a little bit of like, you know, Port Authority dust and soot on it. But it was still pretty, you know, grim and gray and suburban. And it was all ranked on how good you were at lacrosse.
Wow.
Or how many sticks you owned. So you're from like Pennsylvania, New York.
Yeah, like Western New York.
You're from like Texas. So what were the sports? Like was lacrosse? Because I would rank it obviously football and lacrosse. And then there was the, you know, performing arts. If you needed a punching bag, there was that. And then that was it. Like really. What did you have?
Just football.
Did you have like Friday Night Lights?
I mean, that was the town over. So yeah, that was exactly what my life was like. And skateboarding in a town that's, you know, everything shuts down when there's a game on Friday night. Just I got beat up constantly. Like if I hear a diesel engine or a Mustang 5.0 engine, my butthole puckers. And I just jump into the nearest bush.
Your balls immediately invaginate.
Yeah. They know what to do.
Yeah.
It sounds like skateboarding was like
three of us. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Skateboarding was just a code word for beat the shit out of somebody.
Yeah, and then also I have Tourette's and, you know, a bunch of other problems, and it was almost like I was asking for it.
You kind of. I mean, let's be honest. How did you get into it? Laura will get to you in a minute. How did you?
No, I'm done.
Get into skate in the first place in such an skating?
It looked fun. I mean, that's really all it came down to. Is it looked fun, and then once I started getting into it, then there was a lot of older kids that skated, and there was a lot of like Black and Mexican kids that skated, which I thought was really cool because everything else was so like football was so. I mean, of course, there was Black and Mexicans play football, but it was such kind of a white-dominated town that it was just boring.
Sure.
So I just, it was just something different, and it looked fun, and that was it.
But what about baseball? I thought you were really good at baseball.
I played baseball, but I fucking hated it. Like once I started playing,
Because of parental, like why? Who would hate baseball on the merits? It's fun.
It was fun until like I started playing All Stars and having to travel, and then having other people's dads yell at me, and like it was so Nazi like in high school that I just was like, I'm done with it, so I quit.
My dad used to umpire our little league games in his court because he was a shrink. So the story of my dad. He was like a broke Bronx kid who was like adopted, but he like graduated college early on a phys ed scholarship and played in the Yankee system and all, like super duper man and medical. So he used to show up after work and umpire my little league games in his corduroy sports jacket with, and I'm not kidding, like the suede elbow patches. And he did not shy away from like punching me out on a questionable called third strike on his own, because it was all about integrity. Anyway, so Laura, you were like probably like a four sport letterman in high school.
I was. Actually, I remembered there was one sport that I didn't get kicked out of or asked not to come back to, and that was field hockey. I think that's white trash lacrosse.
Yeah, so I might have told you I have a 15-year-old daughter who this year, so she kind of got relegated to third string volleyball after the two of us, frankly, putting in a lot of time in the yard over the summer. So a kid in her English class, bear with us listeners, recruited her into playing field hockey goalie, and she's like, sure. She has cracked the code of like doing shit that you've never done before. So there's no stakes. There's no like, you suck at this. Like, I've never done it. I'm blameless in this.
Great.
So she played goalie for field hockey, and now she's got ice hockey fever.
Amazing.
So she can play. But it's like field hockey is a cool sport. There's a lot of. Did you actually get out and play? This is a long wind up to asking this question. Like, did you actually play, and did you at all like it?
I really liked it. It was something we could do, that or tennis, in gym class. And then I, couldn't hit anything. So I decided to hit other girls in the kneecaps, and I loved it. On the field, I really had fun, and we all had fun. I feel like we laughed a lot, like
rolling around, holding your kneecaps.
Yeah. It wasn't very professional, it was part of the curriculum. Really, you could choose, and so I loved it. It was at one time I felt like I didn't get picked last. It was great.
Oh, nice. And how many character units would you say it built? 3 to 5 characters?
Gee, at least. Yeah. I think it helped me to, hold grudges later on. If that's a character builder, I don't know. I was able to stack up my enemies.
You're still ranking in the grudge department.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I know.
Nationally ranked?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Grudge holder? Yeah. Wait, so can I back up? So where's the high school theme stem from?
How did you just want, when I've talked to writers, artists, comics, like yourself, with some people it starts, when they're a kid, they know really early, but I feel like where you find out how things are going to be is in like junior high. And then you can decide like, oh yeah, I think because I'm invited into a clique, because I'm not invited into any clique and I'm unpopular, I'll probably do this.
Yeah, it's basically just an uninspired boilerplate bullshit question.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
No, but it's a timeless, you're both right. It's an important question, but it's timeless. But it's like that's formative shit of like, you can tell like the nonconformists all look alike, that thing, and like, I think it's that thing where it's like, okay, I'm obviously I'm devastatingly handsome and physically talented, but I'm not going to make it as a jock because of unfair reasons. So I'll just kind of like maybe develop a sense of humor. But for me, it was like, I met really like funny people. And so I was like, oh, I can try to kind of sound like them and then I'll have a place to go, but I couldn't like ever live up to, for example, the two of you or whatever, or like friends that I still have now. I think like everyone's funnier than I am, but it's like, then it's just like, can you hold your own in the, chip something in the room with them? And that's what the high school shit is. And it's like all of these people are trying to cover, it's the misfit shit and all that, right? So.
But Dave, I'm constantly quoting you, lines from Minor Accomplishments. And I'm always talking about how much I miss you because, of course, you're on the East Coast and you're brilliant. But one of the things I always quote was do you remember when we were at the Rustic and a mutual friend of ours was going on about the latest, like, Playboy Bunny he was with and whatever. And I remember we were all like a few beers in and then you just turned to him and said, your hole is full of stories.
Yeah, it's really summed up like 95% of what you get when you talk to these LA types who are traffic in a certain kind of currency that he was really proud of. Yeah. And but wait.
And and because of you, I made all these T-shirts because he was saying, "Oh, this girl's the one." There's always someone who is too young, also, but no, she's smart too. She has a 3.0 in college, whatever. And then you said, "Oh, is this anonymous twat number 256?" So I made all these T-shirts, anonymous twat number 256, which
really
I still
smart.
wear.
She just ran a 3K. She's so smart.
How did you two meet?
Oh, I think your listeners would be fascinated to hear this story. So I'm going to give you my end of this story,
Please
which
do.
I don't even know if you probably know because, all right. So Laura and I have been buddies, for a minimum of 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
However, okay, so my first encounter with you was I was between opportunities in New York and I was crashing at the apartment of a successful friend of mine. It was the middle of don't take this the wrong way, but it was the middle of the day and your, I think, Comedy Central special was playing. But it was playing like around the clock. So it wasn't just that it was in the middle of the day. And I was probably, just to really set the visual, probably in my underwear on the
Nice.
sofa, possibly tidy whities. I might not have moved into my boxer era at that point. But like this thing came on and I was like, reclining and clicking around and your special came on and I'd never heard or knew of you. And I was like, I watched this thing and I was riveted. And I was like, one of these days, I'm going to put on some pants and I'm going to work with that girl.
Oh.
But I told myself, I'm going to work with that girl. And then I obviously I set my mind to doing nothing about it. And then somehow, okay, I'm going to give you the stem winder version
Dave,
of the story.
you started with such a low bar. I can't believe it, but go on. To meet me.
Right. And just get ready because the bar doesn't go any higher than
And I met her in a bar.
Yay.
Yeah.
A low bar.
A low bar.
That's, oh my God.
That's
The
the
Rustic.
only bar she goes to.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wound up making a really, really, really unbelievably groundbreaking short film that was 2 minutes long, and it cost me $2,000. And I sold it, skip the reasons why, but part of the reason why included me setting myself on fire at the Aspen Short Film Festival with you remember when like Pottery Barn sold candle pilasters? I don't know what the word is. It was a candle stand and it was like waist height and you'd put them in your room to like set the scene and like you'd show that you were rich and you could afford this thing, except people would walk into that and ignite themselves. And I did that because like I had my shirt tail kind of like, hippily hanging out of my pants. And I went up, the flames went up my shirt. And I was the shirt was so loose that I didn't know I was on fire. And I had a French filmmaker turn to me and say, "You are on fire." And my film had shown that night. And my response was like, "Oh, I mean, it was a good movie, but I wouldn't go so far as to say about it." And then like the next thing I know is Treat Williams has me around the throat yelling, "Tear it off and tear it off." And
Rest in
Fisher
peace.
is throwing drinks on me to try. And I don't know what's happening because my shirt is going up in flames behind me. Anyway, at this film festival, this is the film that I made that this woman bought to put on the independent film channel, IFC. And then she called me a few weeks later and she said, "You know who I think you," and I was living in LA by myself in like a 0-room apartment. Like they have those there. And And she was like, you know who I think you'd like? I think you'd like Laura Kightlinger. And I was like, oh my God, the underpants girl. Definitely. I would like to meet her. And she gave me your number, and I called and left a voicemail because that's what people did in those days. And you called and left a voicemail back because I happened to be out for like the first time in a month. And you left like a really charming, delightful message where you kind of sang a little song like, I'd like to meet you, or something like that. And then that was it. And then we did Floor 44. Do you remember Floor 44?
Do.
I was living in New York and I wrote these stupid, okay, sorry, this is going to be long. But the idea was it would be interstitials for IFC because now I was in with them.
Yeah.
To run like between and like commercials. And there were like 90-second episodes about this life in this weird corporation. And it was just two elevators. And you just see what would happen in the interactions when elevator doors opened and the people came out and people went in. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was awesome.
Yeah. It was
and
really
I
funny.
sent these things to you like sight unseen. We'd never physically met. And you were like, oh my God, I really like these. They're weird and good. And like, let's go do them. And that was the launching of Spaceship Kightlinger.
Dang.
Do you remember any of that? Or
yes,
like...
I do. And I just remember thinking like how funny you were and smart. I felt like we met on the street out here.
Is your story totally different? Like we were in the same like martial arts club?
We were both in rehab and I couldn't afford it. And you got to dry out and I didn't. No, we were.
Yeah, right. I remember that night you smuggled some like smack.
No, funny. We were at the coffee shop in Beechwood, I think, when we met.
You couldn't quite shit it out, and I had to like give you this like horse expulsionist thing. What do you call it?
A warm spoon.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could break the brick before you inserted it.
Like, don't keister if you can't deliver that.
Meanwhile, my asshole lapsed, and whatever.
Oh,
so,
shit.
no, but then
we're all prolapsed here. But,
yeah, that's what I meant. Prolapsed. I said lapsed.
At least we're pro at something.
But anyway, yes, I do remember. But the thing was, I remember thinking, here's somebody. I mean, I didn't like writing with people. I think I hadn't had a good experience with it. That's for sure, because I was on SNL and that was miserable. So then I thought, oh, I hope I can write with this guy. And then when I found out how funny you are, I thought, this is a dream. There's somebody that I'll have a great time writing with. And this is going to be really sentimental, but I still think about when we were writing just in here at the house, like that we would look at each other crying, laughing. And it's just like, that rarely happens. I never like laugh that hard except with you.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I remember thinking like, damn, I always kind of hope to get nowhere just by myself. Like I think.
Yeah, I think we're in this,
someone else.
We're in the same place. I'm just taking the long way around. I did an extra 3 blocks. But here we are. Because I got lost.
Right. Right. I know this cul-de-sac is, I could find my way in here, but there's no way out.
Actually, in commemoration of it all, we should be doing whippets right now from whipped cream cans.
I've never done a whippet. I've only witnessed whippets, and I chalk it up to having waited tables all through high school. And so like the restaurant industry had no allure for me. Like the glamour quickly wore off. Same with playing in a band, because I played the drums. And so like the guitar players, here's playing in a band. And I know that you both guys were both in the Stones, so you know this. But you would take your guitar and you'd shove it in your case. And then all the girls would go like, hey, I really like the way you play the guitar. And I'm like, oh, I bet you'd probably also like the way I, like fluff your pillows in your dorm room or whatever. But meanwhile, I'm like sweaty, disgusting, and I'm shoving gear into a bag for the next 90 minutes. And I finally finish up and I, clap my hands like that. And I'm like, all done, and place my fists on my hips, and everyone's gone. So
everyone's gone. Come on, ladies.
Please, I know.
Go ahead. I'm a dartboard. Just come at me.
Exactly. And there's like, it's nobody. It's just like the old drunk, the old ferryman sitting at the corner of the bar.
And by the way,
well, I'm up for anything. It would be first for me, but sounds okay. Anyway, wait, how did I get on that?
And by the way, people listening,
we were talking about how you're allergic to pussy.
Dave Punch looks like a young Paul Newman. He has beautiful blue eyes. He's a blonde Jew like Paul Newman.
And your father.
and my father, but my father was not good looking. But yeah.
Well, where did you get your
it's
mom's
insane
good
that you're not. Yeah, my mom is really pretty. So I think that what doesn't fit here is that you didn't get laid because you're incredibly
right, and
handsome.
I'll tell you, it's not
because you were
something that
shy.
a fellow makes up. It's not like a
Really?
yeah. So you would more go in the other direction.
You don't use that at parties.
It took me a while, but and not for lack of desire or not for like the occasional kumquat getting some punishment. All right, so let's go around the table. What was your first? Not even like losing it, but what was your first like? Oh, like I'm breaking the membrane kind of thing. Like, you understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I was trying to lose my virginity in high school. I thought it would just like fall out and then I would find it again. No, I was trying to,
did you fill out a form?
No, how do you lose it? I've lost everything else. But that
I registered for the SATs. Like
that seems to be attached to me somehow. So no, I remember going to the prom with my friend's younger brother, and I had to get him to go with me because he was underage. I had my mom buy me a case of Blatz to give them, and then I said something like when we were in the car alone, when everybody else was out drinking, just outside the car. I said like, "Hey, it doesn't have to be special. Let's take my virginity."
Damn.
And he didn't want to. And then I was at a bar later, like at 18, like my summer of my 18th birthday or something. And I met this guy from high school's cousin who was Canadian. And I thought,
French Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. I thought, ooh, he knows how to do it. He's French, but he was French Canadian, like Pepe Le Pew. He knows how to do it.
Pepe Le Pew in jeans.
Yeah, and he
He's
always
kind of a rapist.
Yeah, he was. And I
really
thought, God, if Pepe Le Pew can't overtake me when I'm giving it up, no, I don't know. I just thought he's French. That's sexy anyway, and he was sexy.
Someone sweep me off my feet, please.
Yeah. And his name was Andre. And so anyway, in my first year, I went to Fredonia College, and it was parents' weekend. I didn't tell my mother, and he came in and took my virginity.
Wait, can I ask you a question? Was it like a monkey you were trying to get off your back, or was it like from the inside out? You know what I'm getting at? Like,
it was a monkey I was trying to get in my front.
Like, okay, good. Yeah.
You're so sweet, Dave.
Because there's a right way to do these things.
No, I really thought like, I was just really curious. Everybody I knew had already had sex. My best friend met, she had sex at like 16. Everybody had lost their virginity except me. My mom lost hers over and over again. And I just wanted, like in where I grew up, in the same house. And I just was like, oh my God, I just was really curious.
Dave, how'd you lose your virginity?
Who says I ain't?
Have you yet?
Yeah, that's a presupposition. All right, you really want to know?
Yeah.
Okay. The lie is I lost it junior prom. Let's see. Honestly, nothing special.
Yeah.
I wish there was a story.
Well, how did it come about?
There was a girl. Hold on, because my daughter's listening outside. There was a girl I knew in college, and she graduated. She's a little bit older, and she was a dancer. And she was in really good shape. And she also worked at, brace yourself, she worked at Laura Ashley on South Street Seaport.
Wow.
So I know you're both getting giant boners right now.
That's clothes for big girls, right?
Yeah.
No.
I'm kidding.
It's clothes for the 80s girls who are, yeah. And we always just sort of like, we were attracted to each other because we were artists.
I feel like it's going to happen in a tub of violets. Go on.
Yeah. So I put 1,000 tea lights around the bathtub and sprinkled rose petals on the water. And then I slipped on the bath mat and hit my head into the thing. And it was that.
But you came.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, I asked if I came.
Who's your favorite guest star on Jackie Woodman, the Minor Concerts? There were many.
There's no way to say favorite. How about, can we just brag about, first of all, Mary Kay Place played my mother, and she was amazing. And
she's in a movie called Diane. If you haven't
which
seen
is
it,
incredible.
watch that motherfucker. It's incredible.
Have you
is it
seen that,
really?
Dave?
It's
It's so
fucking
incredible.
good.
We went to see it. We saw a premiere.
What's it about?
It's about this woman who kind of takes care of everyone
In
her life, but
dilapidated, upstate New York.
Yeah.
Industries all left
right
town.
on.
Yeah,
West
and we
Belt town, yeah.
can't say what
I will
happens.
tell you the one that I like kind of dine out, I would say dine out on, but I don't dine out on anything. But like the one that I bring up when the conversation lags is Lee Majors.
I know.
Who we got to play the governor of California during a terrorist crisis. Like there's implications. Like he'd been elected like in a Schwarzeneggerian way. Like let's elect a celebrity to be okay. There's categories of people, and I don't know what this category of person is, but like. So he showed up and he had like the neck napkins in when he got out of his limo.
Oh, amazing.
Or a radio car or whatever, right? To go into makeup. Like he was a total pro. Like he was ready to sit in a chair, get makeup, had napkins around his suit, and got up and delivered his lines. 3 takes, nailed it. No ums or ers. Said, thanks, really a pleasure to meet you, and left. And I was like, damn, like that guy lives on a different planet.
Yeah,
from
he was
me.
brilliant.
And so I was like, that's the one that I tell when I try to tell people, like, that's what this world is like. You get human beings like that.
I was thinking Orson Bean, who was incredible and a great dancer. And also, I think like because it was somebody I always wanted to meet, Ray Wise might be.
Totally. Yeah. Really good. And Paul Dooley, who I always loved from like Breaking Away and all. And like he was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And that was okay. Let me ask you this question, but I'll load it by saying this. Like in my experience, one of the oddest experiences was when Paul Dooley, who like Breaking Away was like a movie that I really like internalized, and my high school friends and I, we watched that. We loved it. And he's the dad in that movie. If you like, for anyone who hasn't seen it, and he's so like warm and good and real and weird and funny in his own way. And so I remember like going up and shaking his hands, and he's like, hey, I'm like, hey, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. My name's Dave. And he's like, I know who you are. And I was like, God, that's weird to have someone say like, I know who you are, who you respect.
Yeah.
It's like, no one I respect knows me or thinks positively or highly of me at all. But also like, okay, so I will tell you this. There are 2 distinct occasions when I've run into absolute strangers who've had no reason to know this, who knew what the show was. And that's my question to you. There was one, I was at a party in Ojai, California, and my wife, Julie, was there. And we're going back and forth, and it was just random at a party with this is the town where my parents live. We're like, what do you do? This, that, and what do you? And they asked me, and I was like, oh, I write in the show. What's the show? And I was like, oh, it's called the Minor Accomplishments. They both, it was like a very young couple, and they were like, oh my God, that's our favorite show. And then I had the same experience going to a friend's wedding in Columbus, Ohio. And I was staying at a hotel, and the friend had a mutual friend, and it was like, we got to get to this event. So I'm like, I'll have the friend pick you up. I got in the car with her. I'm going back and forth. She's like, I'm a teacher in New York, and I got to go do this thing in the morning. And she's like, what do you do? And I was like, I don't really love to talk about it. But then they draw you out. And I was like, and she was like, holy shit, that's my favorite show. And I was like, yeah, it's on tomorrow night. And she's like, oh my God. And she got, by the way, she had to show up on Monday morning and give a test. And she got so unbelievably fall down drunk. I was like, there's absolutely no way this person's going to go. And that's the New York school system. Anyway, have you ever run across people who've like randomly?
No. And I always have to.
Lena Dunham.
Oh, I guess Lena. I heard, that Lena Dunham liked the show.
Didn't Bill Maher kind of?
Oh yeah, maybe he did.
Does he count?
But those aren't civilians. Those are like industry folk.
I don't know. I mean, maybe a while ago, but I always feel like with me, I'll mention it anyway. Like if you ask me my name, I'll say I've had a brain aneurysm, and I'll say, and also I worked on this show called The Minor Accomplishments of Jackie Woodman. It's on Amazon.
Don't overlook your prison population fans. Is that, and I don't take this the way I mean it, do most of like the celebs have like fans in prison?
I don't know. I think at my high point, I'm going to say in the mid-aughts, maybe.
That was the watermark, yeah.
Yeah. I used to get, a little bit before that, I suppose, I got letters from prisoners, and that they all ended with, I'll be out, and then they'd say when they'll be out. Like I was in for a crime I didn't commit. I'll be out maybe in June or there. I was, okay.
Could you autograph my jizz stain on this?
But you know, I took
Sure
that,
did.
honestly, I took that as a compliment because,
It's not an insult.
people have to, I think you have to kind of agree on what you're going to watch if you're incarcerated.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the stabbings that took place?
Well, I think it was probably me or Sally, Jesse, Raphael.
Yeah.
And they said, well, maybe we'll at least laugh a little bit more with Laura.
I just need 90 seconds of Kightlinger and then it's all yours. Sorry. I'm sorry. But let's tell it like it is.
That's what it is.
Oh, Jean Triplehorn gave me a huge compliment. She just said, I love your show. I feel like it's one of the few shows that's made me laugh, and I hope there are more episodes. Because I said we'd just finished the second season, I think. And I said, well, I don't think there will be. But she was really, really,
Right.
I was stunned because that was my moment. That was kind of like, I guess, my Paul Dooley moment when Mary Kay was introducing us. And she said, oh, I know you. I love your show. That was a minor
It's
compliment.
funny because I remember the way that Mary Kay Place got involved with it was, stop me if I'm telling it wrong, but I think the idea was you were initially enamored of her from like the early teen years when she was on she was
Fernwood
on,
Tonight.
Right. Was,
And-
was that like a Mary Hartman spinoff kind of thing? Or
Yeah,
was
yeah. I
that
think they were both at
World,
the
right?
same. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so you were a fan. You sent her a gift bag of like a script, flowers, and a bottle of scotch with no explanation or something like that.
Well, you know what, Dave? No, it was, first of all, and I was also a huge fan of Big Love.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And so I thought, in my mind, we both dropped everything off at her. We found her address and dropped it off.
I remember her telling me like this bag showed up and it had like gifts and swaggy kind of stuff and a script. And I was like, there was no like, who's it from or why are you sending me? Or like, what do you want from me? But
Oh my God.
Then she was like, oh, it's like flowers and alcohol. Great. And then like this script that was kind of like, oh my God, this is like kind of good. And then there was like no
Phone number.
request.
Oh.
But then someone then followed up who knew what they were doing because neither of us did. And then I was
I'm
like,
shocked by
oh,
that.
Sure.
That we didn't say, will you please do this, and who we were.
Yeah, I know. I think it's like the first lesson of marketing is like you need a call to action.
Good almighty.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is like, I feel like everybody knows when you get a pig's heart in the mail, like, you know what it means.
For
Right.
Christ's
So
sake.
it means
Yeah.
buy Clorox.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
God almighty.
Anyway. All right.
Yeah.
What else, you guys?
What was y'all's writing schedule or routine? What would you do to write?
Drink.
Well, I remember Ringo would come in and beat. And well, it's funny. The two seasons were very different. And the
Yeah.
first season unfolded because what we did was like, so it started with a series of mistakes. The first mistake was giving me the first pilot to direct, which didn't work out. But I will say to the network IFC, to their credit, they stuck with it. The answer to your question is the first season we wrote basically nose to nose in Laura's office in her house on Beechwood Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really fun. And there were late nights. And I would drive over there. I'd get there like roughly 2 p.m. And I would leave there roughly at 6 o'clock the following morning. And it took us like a long time to like hammer the thing out. But we really did it like, do you like this? Do you like that? No, yes, no. And it like, I think it showed. And like, honestly, I think like that's the way you do something that's not shitty. Like you work hard at it. And then the second season, once you get something down, you got the pattern set and all that stuff. The second season was different. It was weird because like we managed to arrange things in such a way that we were able to proceed without working with certain people with whom we were not 100% compatible. I think that's kind of the diplomatic way to put it.
Oh, yeah.
But at that point, like Laura was also grappling with like, I won't speak for you, but I would say that like the easiest thing in the world is not writing and starring in your own show while it's going on. And so I think that like, yeah, like the second season was different, but I would say that like it was better. And we had a pattern of like, we got a running start. We got to like write a whole bunch of stuff. And then to me, the fondest memory was showing up at like 4:45 in the morning at your house. And we'd make a pitcher of martinis. And we'd each drink a pretty liberally sized martini and then like go to the set for the day. That was really fun. And because like that's the way most pros do anything.
Oh yeah. It was a huge thing that we wrote everything ourselves. We wrote 16 episodes, just the two of us. We got great reviews, especially on the writing. And then IFC got a new programming person who decided it wasn't worth going on, even though we got great reviews and blah blah blah.
Well,
right?
I will amend that by saying there was the strike, and then they were like, "Well, we have to go on at a certain point because the strike is going on and on." And then I remember they made the decision, and then the strike ended about like 45 seconds later, basically.
But we were also told that they said that they have spent all their money on Chris Kattan's Bollywood show, and that's why they had no money for us. And they never had no money for us in the beginning because we were doing it for $250,000 an episode, and everybody was wearing my clothes.
Right. And I remember subsequently, I remember going on to do like an HBO show with David Fincher that was, hold on, I don't want to exaggerate, but it was $2 million an episode, and which was an entire season for us. But anyway, but it was like the writing of it was like, it was really freaking fun. It was like, I will say this, for a couple of years, that show, without like self-grandiosement or whatever, like that show was like the coolest indie band on TV.
It was Big Star.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. It was Big Star. No, and it was really fun. And it was like, that's the thing. It's like, that's my point, is like, there was like two people who had heard of it who I never met before. And like, that's enough for me. Yeah. Like, I don't need I don't even need that.
I'll say this, and it's not just because I'm fucking both of y'all, but it was when it was out, like I couldn't fucking believe how good it was, how fun it was. It had laughs like 30 Rock, where it's like every few seconds. And then the weirdness of it, I think, is really what drew me in. Just like the strangeness of it was so perfect. And then, once the show was canceled, IFC had a couple other shows that were fucking dog shit. And I was like, why don't they just bring back Minor Accomplishments?
I think the peyote episode where you played trumpet was one of my favorite things.
And the baseball card license.
Let me ask you this. What level of... Okay, so when I was much younger, I remember like visiting LA for some weird reason. I remember walking down, I think it was Rodeo Drive, and I remember seeing Steve Martin. Mm-hmm. Well, and I was like, this is a joke. I'm in LA and here comes Steve Martin. And I remember seeing him like coming up the sidewalk, and everyone was looking at him going like, oh my God. And he had like sunglasses, a baseball cap, is obviously him. And I'm like, what is that like? Like, you can't go to the ball game. So the question is, and like, you go out, Laura, and you get noticed, like what level?
I never get noticed, Dave. In fact, I haven't.
Hang on. I've been out with you. So, well, hold on. Don't cut me off, because the question is, what level of fame seems right? Because there's the level of fame where like it kind of wrecks your life, like it wrecks your ability to, and thankfully, I mean, I could have it.
I know. Right. But you chose not to. You decided to go off and write like a real artist in the woods of Maine.
Massachusetts.
I know. I like to say Maine, though.
Okay.
Because
I opted to go pick apples, which will get you noticed, but...
I remember there are times when people recognize her, but I remember her telling me that when Mulholland Drive came out, Asian people used to think that she was Laura Herring. And I remember seeing the trailer for Mulholland Drive and thinking it was Laura. And it was one of Bobcat's movies. Oh, it was the documentary about...
It was,
Barry Crimmins.
Yeah.
And we're walking out and this middle-aged Asian man comes up. He's like, oh, Laura, it's so great to see you. Like, I'm a huge fan. And Laura's like, oh, thank you so much. And he goes, yeah, you have such a natural look. It's so amazing. And he thought she was Laura Herring. I was like, holy shit.
It's funny. I go out and sometimes people think I'm Lyndon Johnson.
Oh,
let's see it.
Conspiracy theorist.
Let's see Jumbo.
Died. Oh, God.
Let's see his giant cock.
The bombing was kind of uncalled for.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember during the show, I was at Gelson's, and this small woman was like kind of looking up at me, and I finally like looked over and whatever. I thought she recognized me, and she said, excuse me. And I said, yeah. And she said, can you reach that can for me? She just wanted me to reach something that she couldn't reach. And my joke was, and who should I reach this to?
Could you dunk this basketball?
Well, this is crazy. You know what we have to do? I feel like we have to do a regular East Coast segment because I'll never tire of talking to Dave. We're gonna have to fit this in.
I'll tell you something that I think the takeaway for the listeners is that we have a guest bed that has a gel mattress that the guests rave about. They're like, this is the most comfortable place I've ever slept. And it's not your average gel, like blob slab of gel, but like it's really advanced. Like sometimes you go to sleep and it's basically like sleeping in Jell-O, which we've all know what that feels like.
Sure.
But this is like a really nice mattress. So what I'm doing is I'm inviting you and everyone within the sound of my voice to come and stay in our guest room.
Amazing.
It's really nice.
So what kind of mattress are you talking? Like one you can hose down, or what do you think?
No, it's not a memory foam, is it?
No. It'll forget everything. It does not want to know.
Good.
It's not interested at all.
You don't ever want a mattress to remember what you've done.
Right.
That's so good, but hey, good lord. Oh.
This is between you and it's just punching the clock. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming along to the show tonight.
And hopefully a season 3 of Jackie Woodman.
Yeah, I think
the script is written,
and there are so many places that it could really go.
The virgins have been sacrificed,
and still,
I know,
and still nobody would see it. But still, there's a place. There's got to be a place where it's somewhere.
There's so many people who wouldn't care.
I know.
What could be more natural? I honestly think that like the angle is it's the revival of a show that nobody gives a shit about or ever saw, and like you don't even care right now.
Yeah, that's very much. That would be kind of like a reality TV hybrid. Hybrid. It's bullshit meets
the Westminster Dog Show.
But with more ball cupping. They really get in there on those dogs' nuts.
Oh my god!
It's
Garrett, will you tell the story about your friend growing up, about his dad?
Oh, okay. And then we'll end the episode. And if this works, I might cut it out. But when I was a kid, my neighbors played tennis, and I was, my mom really wanted me to play tennis, and it was fine, whatever. Anyhow, I was at their house, but they were two brothers. And they were fucking crazy, and I loved them. But we went to go play tennis, and we came back to the house, and I was waiting in the kitchen for my mom to pick me up. And my friend's mom was standing in the kitchen at the island. There's a skylight above her, and she still has her tennis visor on, her tennis outfit on.
Oh, nice.
She's drinking a glass of white wine, and their dad comes home, walks in. He just got off work, and they're talking, and all of a sudden I hear like a scream, and the dad said, he goes, "God, David, what did I tell you boys about kicking each other in the nuts?" And he like goes to their room, and the mom just sits there drinking.
I can't remember. What did you tell us about
drinking the glass?
Remind me.
Drinking the glass of wine, just stone cold. Just her eyes are like not even focused. And the thing was there was I had just moved into town from out in the country. Like we lived out in a town called Gardendale, so we moved into town. And I was literally dug holes and had a hound dog that followed me everywhere. I had no idea about.
You were Huckleberry Finn.
I was like, you guys want to dig holes? And they're like, we have video games. Like, what the fuck is a video game?
Shove dirt up our ass?
Yeah. Why the fuck not? But like, yeah, they had video games. They like did all this, So they're like, hey, we're gonna go to this kid's house. They're like, hey, do you have shin guards? And I was like, I think so. And they're like, okay, well, you can borrow some of mine. The game was when you went over there, someone would say 4, and you would have to put your shin up like your ankle to your knee, one ankle to one knee.
In the shape of a 4.
In the shape of a 4, because they would kick. And the thing was, you couldn't bend your leg when you kicked, but they would kick like straight up like a Nazi marching. And if you put your leg up in a 4, you wouldn't get kicked in the nuts. So that was the game. And so when I was there, I guess the older brother, which I can't say his name, the older brother got the young
game a cult leader comes up with.
Got the younger brother on 4 when he wasn't expecting
took my
it.
Cock and you put it up your ass.
Yeah.
And then the game starts.
Yeah. But just like those kinds of kids are the ones I was drawn to, like the ones that like the ones that like it's like oh, why is there a police car in front of their house? And it's like, oh, was it for anything the parents is like because of something the kid did? And I was like, I want to be friends with that kid.
But also just that it was such a routine. What did I like? He's had to tell them more than once.
Ah, damn it! What did I tell you too about kicking each other in the nuts?
Right. Oh my God, every night.
Yeah. Just beautiful. Right. And just got home from work from a shitty job. Like, just incredible. Guys.
Hooray
Show
for
me how you guys
Hollywood.
don't do correctly kick each other in the balls. Just so I can correct. Everyone take out their ball. Come on this tray.
He's the nut-kicking chaplain.
I've told you time and time again, preheat the oven to 350, coat your balls in olive oil and crushed red pepper.
There are other ways to get blue balls, gentlemen. Oh, God.
My friend in New Hampshire had so there's a lot of lakes, and you'd have like little ducks that would go out in the lakes. And the game was called Coming. And there was a ladder at the end of the dock that you climb down. So you'd stand on the ladder and someone would come charging at you down the dock, and they would yell, "Coming!" And they would charge and try to jump over you, so you in such a way that you would like try to tag them.
Oh my God.
Sick.
And I was like, he told me this, and we were in like our early 30s when he taught me this game. And I was like, you understand how like that was, like these are repressed Catholics who are trying to just like run a game called Coming.
They're trying to run a...
No, it's just called Coming. You just like jump over the guy and he tries to touch you and like, you come in. I was invited to sleepover night of New York Forest Boston game. We'll discuss this. We obviously have some stuff to go over here.
God, Dave, you're still invited over to sleepovers? Talk about repressed.
Yeah, I know. You guys, oh my God, I forgot about my sleepover. I got to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Kaylee, we're about
You
to...
should totally go. All right,
Anyway,
hold on. All right, we're going to work this shit out.
Okay.
And
we're going to do minor accomplishments again, but we'll call it something else.
We're going to call it minor accomplishments.
One last stab. Let's keep trying for no reason.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
And you buy bonds.
Yeah.
Support the troops.
Yeah.
Let us write. We're better than most.
Yep. You don't know what you're doing. Leave it to us.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything you would like to plug?
This is a pleasure. I would like to plug the Laura Kightlinger and Garrett Sutton podcast because it's delightful and really entertaining.
We're missing Daniel Webb.
Yeah, and we're doing the
co-host.
we have to do.
And I don't know this guy, and I'd like
He's
to meet
fucking
him.
incredible.
We're doing the East Coast segment from now on, so you don't. We'll be. I mean,
Where the hell are you, both?
I think I feel like we're in the guest room. I feel like so many friendships are utilitarian out here. This is like our friendship going on over a performing, kind of thing.
I know. And I would say, like, I don't know, it's an unfortunate consequence of the way that we conduct the world, that like the three of us and the five of us, frankly, are not like hanging out and living our lives together. But
I know.
I love you both.
Love you,
and here's the thing. Once my kid gets out of high school, we're all going on like the winter Norwegian Northern Lights cruise.
Ayahuasca, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, that'll be fun.
We're going to go to like, what's it called?
Valhalla.
Lollapalooza.
Okay.
So
love you,
anyway,
David. Fun on David. Okay, so hopefully we're going to see you soon. And
hopefully, and I love you both.
Thank you for
both
joining
look
us.
Great. Also, but like you both don't age.
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
And you're like both seem to be going backwards, and like all four of your tits look great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Laura's 4 tits.
No, thank you.
Right.
She had 4 puppies.
And, they did it wrong.
Yeah.
I said
right, well,
okay.
I love you guys.
I love you too.
Love you too.
All right.
Take it easy,
Bye.
Dave. Bye.
Bye.